Hi lovely people! This week I wanted to spend the whole video talking about one singular book that I read recently that I really enjoyed, and that is The Charioteer by Mary Renault.
Sophie vlogs.
I've talked about Mary Renault on this channel before. I did a review of The Praise Singer, which I'll leave a link to below. All of the other books of hers that I have to read or have already read have all been her ones that are set in ancient Greece. This one is one, I'm pretty sure that they were written before all of her ancient Greek books, but this is focused on World War II. The main character of this book is called Laurie. He is a soldier who is recovering from a leg wound that he got in Dunkirk, and he's currently in a hospital back in Britain recovering. So the book focuses on Laurie as he recovers in this hospital, but it also really focuses on his relationship with two men. One of them is Ralph, who is someone who he went to school with, haven't seen each other in years, and then meet again. The other one is a boy called Andrew, who is a conscientious objector, who's a Quaker, who is working in the hospital. Let's talk about why I really liked this book, because I did really like this book. I like it for a number of reasons. First of all, for a book that is written in the 50s, I think it was published in 1953, I could be wrong, but for a book that's written in the 50s, this has a very compassionate attitude towards homosexuality, which I now realise is because Mary Renault lived with a woman all of her life. I don't know if she identified as a lesbian, but she was in a very long-term committed relationship with a woman. So, like, now I'm understanding why there's all this compassion towards homosexuality in this, because, like, duh, of course. This book left me feeling really complicated, because I feel like so much of this book is exploring the complicatedness of being gay in a time when you are not allowed to be gay, and the ways in which that affects you as a person, and also how you relate to people, and how other people who are also gay then react to themselves, and how you relate to that. And does this sound confusing? Because I feel like I'm making it sound confusing. Essentially, during Laurie's time in the hospital, he is negotiating these relationships, namely with these two people, one of whom there's all this history with, in some ways it's very straightforward, and in other ways it's slightly complex, and then this other one is someone who's completely new to him, and there's an innocence too. So you sort of have like these two sides. You have this person who embodies history and experience, and then you have this person who embodies innocence and complete lack of experience and lack of any put upon attitudes or like acting, that sort of thing, which was a really interesting. The reason it's called The Charioteer is because it's in reference to this thing. He gets given a book of Plato by Ralph when they are at school together, and at one part in this he reads a passage about how man has, like, the soul, something along the lines of the soul of man is like this chariot, whereby you have this one horse, you have the two horses, and the two horses stand for two different opposing things, and the charioteer has to keep the horses in check and has to try and navigate a course and keep control of these two different sides of himself, which are in conflict, but which he needs to keep working together in order to get anywhere. Which, can you see these reflections with these two relationships, with this inner turmoil? I won't say any more about this conflict because I don't want to give any spoilers for what happens, what decisions are made, what decisions are not made, that sort of thing. But this theme throughout of Laurie as these two aspects, these two relationships which are equally very valid to him, but which it appears cannot coexist at the same time, or can they? All of these things, these questions, these thoughts, super duper compelling and really interesting. Another part of this which I enjoyed was the way in which sexuality is spoken about, because it is written and published in the 50s, but also set during World War II. You know, no one just like comes out and is like, I am a gay man, or whatever. You know, they're not sat there being like, this is how I identify. Instead, it's about like, this is what people call people like me, and this is how people treat people like me, so I don't really want people to know about me because I don't want that treatment. So there's like that outward to society sort of aspect of being. And then at one point in this, Laurie sort of goes to a party, and it's a party that is full of gay men, and it's about him reacting to how these people are portraying themselves in this situation, because he doesn't really sit well with him how all these people are acting and being and stuff. It sort of doesn't feel authentic to him, that kind of thing. Where I'm going with this point is the language that is used to talk about sexuality was interesting to me, because there's this whole talking around things not explicitly said, but things known, but things communicated in ways that are quite subtle. Like, this whole way of dealing with sexuality and dealing with relationships as a result of that was quite interesting to read, and to get like a better sense of what that would be like as a lived experience. I think my final point, I don't know if this has been clear or not, I hope this has been clear. I'm trying to sort of give you a sense of the feelings that this book left me with without actually telling you what happens, because I don't want to ruin anything plot-wise. I will finish with saying that there was sort of a couple of moments towards the end of this where I was like feeling like I was aching inside, because there are decisions that have to be made and there are things which have to happen, and I just was reading them and I was like, oh, could we not just, I don't know how I want this to be solved, but oh, emotions. It was just like quite an emotional read. It took me maybe a little bit to get into it properly, I will say that. Like, if you start reading this and are like, ooh, stick with it, because I stuck with it, and now I'm just like, oh my god, I'm emotionally reeling, and I don't know how to cope, and it was just super great. I feel like this has been a little unstructured, but I hope that I've managed to get like some enthusiasm across. Suffice to say, this was a really good book. It made me feel a lot of things. I'm still emotionally processing a lot of things, but I'm really, really glad I read it. Also, this copy has at the front of it, "To John, with love, Lawrence, 13th of May, 1996. I hope this means as much to you as it did to me." Which now, having read this book, gives me all sorts of feels for John and Lawrence. I want to know if you're okay, John and Lawrence, but this was in a charity shop, so you might not be. I don't know. I have all the feels. I will stop now. I hope you're having a super lovely day. I hope this has not been a complete ramble of a video and that you've imparted what I was trying to say. If you are a fellow Mary Renault fan, please tell me where I should go next, what I should read. If you are not a Mary Renault fan but have recommendations based off of all of these feelings, please do let me know them. I'll see you next week.